nice day across the region. But as we enter into spring, we've got some bigger changes on the way. Active weather is going to return. So here in this YouTube live update, I wanted to go through what we can expect over the next few days into this weekend, as that active weather likely will be sticking around. So if you can give me about 30 seconds to a minute, we'll get fully started in this update, but I'll spin the camera around first and show you those live looks across the area. Overall, we've seen lots of sunshine throughout the day today. It's been, like I mentioned before, absolutely beautiful out there. But unfortunately, it is just going to be a short-lived break from the active weather. We dealt with the rain, graupel, and snow to start the week, and that is exactly where we're heading back into for Thursday, Friday, and likely all the way into the early parts of next week. So I think everything is working here behind the scenes, just working on one thing really quick, and I think we should be good to go. But again, thank you all for tuning in tonight. If you have any comments or questions as we go throughout this update, certainly feel free to ask those in the chat section, and I'll answer them as we go throughout this. But overall, we are quiet right now, but that will be changing over the next couple of hours. So everything, again, is running smoothly. So I say with that, let's get started with this update in full. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you are tuning in from. What kind of weather conditions have you dealt with the last few days? Certainly are always interested in that type of information. But right now, again, most, if not all of western Montana, mostly clear skies, temperatures in the 40s and even a few low 50s, but that all changes for tomorrow. So let me spin this back around and let's get started. Now, right now, we're seeing those temperatures, 43 in Kalispell as well as in Butte, 44 for Bozeman, and 47 in Missoula. Overall, winds have been on the lighter side, though we have seen winds 10 to maybe 15 miles per hour up towards Kalispell as well as down towards Butte. But Missoula, Bozeman, we are calm right now with those mostly clear conditions. But you notice the high clouds starting to develop here on our Kalispell camera, and even to an extent the Missoula camera. That's essentially the first indications that next series of storms, at least the first one in that series, is on its way. And we're going to continue to see the impacts from this Thursday and through the weekend, if not into early next week, say Monday timeframe. Overall, we're going to be looking at a valley mix of rain, snow, and graupel, with mountain snow potentially moderate to heavy at times, and gusty winds are also going to be a bit of a problem, especially as we get into Thursday and again into Saturday. And you can see as we go to our water vapor loop, the storm system that is providing this initial change in our weather, and it's this trough of low pressure digging into the west coast. This will be sliding in overnight tonight, but you see these little dips back to the west. Those are going to be our next storm systems that are going to arrive Friday into Saturday, and then potentially lingering into Monday and Tuesday. And this could have an atmospheric river. You see those brighter blues starting to show up back to the west. We could see a bit more moisture associated with that storm system, with that atmospheric river, primarily impacting, at least with the heaviest precipitation, areas in our mountains. Now, going into Future Tracker for tonight, we are quiet through midnight. It isn't until right about midnight we may start to see those indications of some light moisture up in the mountains along the Montana-Idaho state line. Increasing clouds will be the main impact for our valley areas as we see those temperatures falling down into the 20s and 30s. But as we continue through the night, some spotty showers initially staying in the mountains will transition over to more widespread activity into tomorrow morning for the commute. Right now, this is around 8 o'clock, what we're looking at. Snow levels right now do appear to be around 4,000 to 4,500 feet for the majority of this storm system. And that's going to lead to the greatest impacts and potential travel impacts for that morning commute tomorrow up over our passes, especially towards Lookout, Lolo, and maybe even towards Lost Trail and Homestake at this point. Southwest Montana, it's a little more uncertain about how much snowfall we see that early on in the day. But as we continue through the day on Thursday, this is all going to be associated with a cold front passing through. We're going to see that potential for accumulating snowfall in our mountains with those scattered showers in our valleys, though, as we've seen, and I'm just going to spin this back around, As we've seen with some of those grapple showers, those can reduce visibility in a quick hurry if you get under some of those heavier bands. So that's going to be, I think, the main concern for valley areas is some briefly reduced visibility, as well as maybe some slushy accumulations, or if we are dealing with grapple, those grapple accumulations that act more like ball bearings. That can make things a little bit more slick than you might expect otherwise. So that's going to, again, for tomorrow, be the main impact in the valleys. Snowfall accumulations will continue over our mountain passes, maybe even as much as, say, 4 to 8 inches along the Montana-Idaho state line, and then up into the mountains in northwest Montana. I think on average 3 to 6 will be common, though, again, like I said, 4 to 8, can't rule that out either. By the afternoon, you see those really start to become more spotty in the activity. Valley mix, mountain snow continues all the way through Thursday evening. Maybe a little bit of a break in parts of the area, but it's going to be another just short-lived one. I think we're still going to be looking at consistent precipitation up in our mountains along the state line. As we get into Friday morning, here comes that next wave, continued accumulation for Lookout Lolo passes. Then we get later on into the morning, maybe seeing a little bit of light snow towards the Flathead Valley, maybe even up here towards places like Libby and Troy, but I think still primarily looking at rain into Friday morning. This is going to be sort of the front end of that atmospheric river I was talking about a moment ago. Accumulations up toward Marias Pass will be possible. That's when we could see at least a greater chance of impacts there is for Friday morning. But this is where things start to get a little bit, and I wouldn't say complicated, but the forecast changes up just a little bit. We're going to see another cold front pass through. Temperatures aren't going to really change all too much, so those snow levels likely remain about 4,000 feet, 4,500 feet into Friday. But you notice that as we get into the evening, here comes you notice these darker blues starting to show up. That's in association with that atmospheric river, and we could be talking about heavy accumulations, if this particular model is right, closer towards Lolo Pass, and as compared to maybe Lookout or Marias passes. But as we go throughout the night, this is Friday night about 9, 10 o'clock, still looking at valley rain, and maybe a little bit of a mix with those snow levels staying pretty consistent. We might see into Saturday morning probably the best chance for some of that valley accumulation, not expecting those snow levels to drop down to valley floors, except for potentially in the southern Bitterroot Valley. There may be a little bit of cold air that gets really from areas south of Hamilton. We may see a little bit of snowfall. I'm not expecting too much there, but it's been one area in forecast models that it's been a little bit difficult picking out if we're going to see those snow levels falling down to valley floors there in the southern Bitterroot. Most valley areas, I think, through this, we're talking less than an inch of snow or grapple. So not too much in the way of impact. But mountain pass travel definitely will be impacted, as it looks like right now, with bursts of moderate to heavy snowfall. This is looking into early Saturday morning, 1 a.m. I'll say this, if you have any plans to go skiing this weekend, places like Lookout Pass, Lost Trail, Discovery, even towards Big Sky and Bridger Bowl, we could be talking about some pretty decent snowfall for our mountains into Saturday morning. So it might not be a bad idea to get there early on Saturday, just for the potential of bigger crowds because of the increased snowfall. Though we'll still be seeing those showers into Saturday morning. This is about 8 o'clock. And maybe looking at some snowfall down towards Bozeman itself. Again, back down into the Bitterroot behind this cold front. But as we go throughout Saturday, it becomes a little bit more spotty, a little bit more focused up into our mountains. And this is looking around, say, 10 to 11 o'clock. When this particular model run ends, you notice some of that snowfall up here towards the Mission, Swan Mountains, as well as into Glacier National Park, looking towards the Cabinet Range, and then further south into the mountains of southwest Montana, northwest Beaverhead County, and then further south from there. Let me see where I'm at here. As for, again, for those snowfall totals, this is overall storm potential from now until Monday night. Mountains in northwest and west central Montana, so along the divide and along the state line, I think overall range from about 8 to 16 inches of mountain snow can't be ruled out. Same thing for the mountains around Bozeman, so the Big Belt, Bridger, and Castle Mountains, as well as down here towards the Beartooth and Absarokas, and then the Gallatin-Madison County Mountains and the Centennial Mountains. So I would suspect we'll see winter weather advisories, if not some winter storm warnings for our mountains as we get into likely starting to show up tomorrow if they don't start to show up later on tonight. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But valleys, you notice there's a lot of these lighter blues starting to show up that are showing up. Really, that's looking about a trace to maybe 2 inches. But with those snow levels around 4,000 feet, 4,500 feet, Butte, we could see a little bit of lighter accumulation, maybe about 1 to 3 inches as it looks like right now. Likely staying, at least as this particular model is showing, below winter weather advisory criteria, but something we'll have to keep an eye on. And then I was mentioning the southern Bitterroot. You're seeing 6 to 10 inches here from about Hamilton south. I'm not expecting this. This is a lower resolution model, so I think we're having bleed over from both the Bitterroot and the Sapphire Mountains. I'm not expecting as much snowfall down here into the southern Bitterroot Valley right now. A couple of inches, I'll say that's on the high side. That's a possibility, but I'm not expecting what this is showing. When we get into a little bit closer into this storm, as I'd say probably as we get into Friday, Saturday, well, actually tomorrow and into Friday, we'll be closer into those higher resolution models, and that'll start to show the valley a little bit clearer. So we'll have a better idea as some of the new model information comes in over the next 24 hours or so. Now, one other part of this, and I didn't mean for that to start running there, but wind is going to be another big issue. For the first cold front that moves in tomorrow, we could be talking gusts 20 to perhaps as high as 40 miles per hour. Some isolated gusts over 45 miles per hour possible towards the Mission Valley, as well as into southwestern Montana. We may see those winds start to taper off just a little bit into Friday, but we see that next cold front pick those winds right back up. So I'm looking at Thursday, Friday, and Saturday being quite breezy across the area. Gusts, again, 20 to 40 miles per hour will be common, but some isolated 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, especially in southwest Montana, certainly cannot rule those out, as well as up at our higher elevation. So another one of those, if you're going skiing this weekend, getting some of these late season spring skiing trips out, just be aware it's going to be a bit of a windy one. Same thing for Thursday and Friday if you're heading out as well. So just one of those additional little notes for this storm system. So like I said, valley wintry mix, rain, snow, and graupel is expected. Not expecting as much in the way of travel impacts down in our valleys, but up over our mountain passes, we're talking moderate to occasionally heavy snowfall. Slushy accumulations, but to snow-covered roads are expected on multiple occasions. Beginning tomorrow morning, northwest, west central Montana's mountains, but also the passes, so right along the state line especially, and then as well as up towards Marias Pass. Not expecting as much in the way of snowfall for places like McDonald, Rogers, or Homestake passes, but that said, we're still going to be looking at some lighter accumulations, and just from last night, I'll use Homestake Pass as an example. We had semi-crashes, we had black ice, just from those graupel showers, so it doesn't take a whole lot to create a big-time impact for certain stretches of road, especially as we see the widespread activity become more scattered and spotty in nature. But I do have good news. If we can get past the next say 3 to 5 days of the active weather, the rain, the snow, and the wind, as we get into early and middle parts of next week, really beyond Monday, high pressure is going to build in, and we're talking temperatures well above average. That average in Missoula is 49. Most areas we're right around 44 to 47 degrees on those averages. But Tuesday and Wednesday, we're likely looking at those conditions across all of western Montana, upper 50s and 60s. And I certainly won't rule out a couple of valley areas that might try and work their way into the low 70s. That's more likely in the lower elevations of Idaho, but a couple of west central and northwest Montana valleys, that is a possibility. So something we'll have to keep an eye out for the middle of next week. Could see our warmest temperatures we've seen so far this year, more than likely we will see the warmest temperatures of 2025 so far, if not our first 70-degree temperatures of the season in our region. So it's kind of a nice little welcome into spring. Spring officially starts late tonight, so into really tomorrow morning for March 20th. So we're finally saying goodbye to official winter, even though winter weather doesn't like to leave western Montana alone. So I'm trying to think. That's pretty much everything I had. We will see that warm up next week into the middle parts of the week, though we'll likely see those temperatures start to cool back down towards the end of the week as another storm system tries to move out or move into the area. But that's still over a week away. We have plenty of time to watch that. In the near term, active weather after tonight is going to be the main story. Travel impacts over our mountain passes, moderate to major at times, especially looking towards the passes along the state line. And I'll even include those in the southern part of the state line. So Reynolds, Targhee, Monida, we'll have to keep an eye on those passes as well. But I'll certainly be keeping an eye on those travel conditions, those road conditions over the next few days. And I think that's pretty much everything that I had for tonight. If you have any photos or videos of this next storm system as it rolls in, or how you're welcoming spring, certainly feel free to share those photos or videos with us at nbcmontana.com/chime-in. Tune into our live broadcast tonight at 10 o'clock. I'll have the newest weather models that come in. We'll have the latest news stories for our live broadcast at 10. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, NBC Montana Today with Jason Hurst and Chief Meteorologist Brooke Foster. Brooke will have the latest updates for what we can expect with this next storm system, including storm totals, those travel impacts that we're already going to be seeing tomorrow morning, likely over the passes, and what you can expect for the rest of the day, Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. And I will be back for tomorrow evening for our live broadcasts, as well as another YouTube Live with that storm system on the way. So again, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Have a great evening, and I will see you all on the next one. With NBC Montana, I'm meteorologist Mitchell Coombs.